Hello everyone, my name's Lachlan and today we're going to talk about making an amazing homemade pizza. So this pizza today would definitely beat cooking any frozen pizza, and I'm sure it's also going to rival purchasing a takeaway pizza also. So the first thing we have to do is make our pizza base. So in front of me here I've got some flour. Inside the flour I have a pinch of milk powder. So I'm using a strong protein flour. A Tipo 00 is perfect for this, but to be honest, if you just have plain flour or baker's flour, that will also work perfectly fine. I have some sugar, some yeast, and some salt. We will be attaching the recipe to this also, so you can have a look there and follow all the exact measurements. Now, this is something that I really want to encourage, that we get the kids involved and cook together. Get their hands dirty, have some fun in the kitchen, and then all eat together. You know, it's a really nice time to spend together at home within the kitchen. So for our dough, whilst I'm talking, I'll just get this yeast into my water. So I've got a cup of water here, and it's a room blood temperature, so just above 30 degrees. I'll just whisk in this yeast. I'll also add the sugar to that. So I'm not going to leave this too long to activate. We can move along pretty quickly, but that just speeds up the process ever so slightly. I'm going to get the flour and dump it directly onto the bench. So this is a great one, as I said, for the kids to get involved. Make a well in the centre. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now I'm going to add all of this water. So this will get very sticky very quickly. So just slowly bring it in. We don't want to go too vigorous too quick, otherwise our water will end up all over the bench. So make sure the flour still, restrains that from some point. I haven't added the salt yet, but we will be very shortly. So I'm just slowly bringing in some more flour. Mix that in, you'll feel the water starts to get nice and thick as we hydrate this flour. So you could do this in a mix master as well with a dough hook, but I'm using a little bit less flour today. This will make 2 large pizzas or 3 sort of smaller ones. Obviously you can times this by 2 if you want to. So it's now starting to get nice and thick. I can really just bunch this all together and keep on stirring it. It's going to clump up quite quickly, as you can see here. Now it's really sticky and there's still lots of flour that hasn't absorbed all of the water yet. So just keep on bringing it in. Don't add any more water or any more flour. Keep on working this, it will go really nice and smooth. So I'll just knead away here for about 5 minutes or so. I'll speed up the footage so you can see exactly what's going on, and we'll see the smooth dough in a few minutes. So I've got this dough looking, it's not finished, but it's come together. You can see the bench is relatively clean now. I'm just going to add the salt. So it's important that we don't add the salt too soon, as the salt can kill the yeast. So I've basically encased this now. I'll continue to knead, and you should feel a bit of a textural difference with the loaf. It starts to become quite soft. So I'll continue to work this through for another few minutes, and then we should have a nice smooth dough. Okay, so you can see here, really, really nice smooth dough. I didn't need to add any flour or any extra water. So the more we work it, it hydrates the flour really nicely and you get a really nice smooth dough. So all I have to do now is pop this into a lightly oiled bowl. So I've just sprayed this with a bit of kitchen spray. I'm going to pop the dough in, and I'll pop that into our oven on the proving yeast dough setting for roughly 30 to 45 minutes until this doubles inside, and then we can do the next steps. Okay, so our pizza dough is in the oven proving away. Once that doubles in size, we'll be able to break that into our portions, and we're very close to be able to making our pizzas, which is fantastic. In the meantime, I just want to go through some of the toppings that I'll be doing today. Obviously, as you know, you can do whatever toppings you please at home. It's completely up to you. Quite often for me, I have a look through the fridge and the pantry and try and use up some bits and bobs, but this is where you can really let your imagination run wild. First of all, the tomato sauce. I do this the easiest way that I possibly can. Preferably if you can get tinned tomatoes that are whole and not crushed or diced. I've got diced here today. It'll still work, it's perfectly fine, but the whole is my preference, absolutely. So I'm just going to open these up. I've got a jug here with a sieve in place, and I'm just going to sieve these tomatoes. So I'm just going to use the thickest part of these tomatoes today. I'll blitz that with a bit of basil. You can cook this down in a pan to make it thicker. Personally, I don't. I just simply use fresh from the tomatoes, but it's really up to you. I'm all about doing things quick and easy and making them tasty as well, and this is one of the best ways to do that. And then here I've got a pepperoni or a salami, which I'll slice into nice thick slices. I prefer to buy a whole salami, as you can see here, as it enables you to really pick the thickness and the size that you like, and it's also probably a bit fresher as well. Those pre-sliced products, we don't really know how long they've been sliced for. I've got some mozzarella balls, some cheddar, I should say. So this I'll just grate. I'll probably dice this mozzarella, and I think I've got some grated cheese in the fridge as well that I might add to this as well. So I'll make a bit of a cheese mix, and that'll be basically what I use today for my toppings. But as I said, use whatever you like. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so once you have all of your toppings ready, your cheese grated and chopped, your salami cut up, all that sort of stuff, it's time to get on to getting the other things ready for our pizza. So most importantly, preheating your baking stone. So this is Miele's gourmet baking stone. You can hop on to miele.com.au or miele.co.nz to see these online. This is a fantastic stone that can be used for all baking pizzas, breads, and anything similar like that. It's really important though when you use this that you preheat this for at least half an hour to 40 minutes, if not longer. So I'm actually going to pop this into the oven on shelf level 2. It'll sit on a rack, and I'll preheat this on 240 degrees on fan grill. And that's actually the function that we'll be using to cook these pizzas as well. So I'll pop this in. I'll then make a quick flour mix as well. So I'll just get this in now. Okay, that's into preheat. Now when we come to shaping and maneuvering our dough, it's really important that it doesn't stick. So here I've got a cup of semolina and a cup of flour. Now this will be way too much, but I normally mix these equal quantities, and I keep it in my pantry just as a flour mix. So both of those can go into a bowl together like so. All I do now is mix that with your hand like so. You can pop this into a container and grab out as you need. So if you think you'll make pizzas somewhat regularly, I always make a slightly bigger batch, so I have some always on hand, but you could always do half a cup of each or something to get you through. So that's done. Our pizza stone's preheating. Our bread, or our pizza bases I should say, they still have about 10 to 15 minutes to go until they double in size, so we're almost there. But if I just show you this tomato sauce, you can see I've got it sitting in the sieve like so. At the moment, I've removed about 300 mils of water from these, so almost a whole tin of water. So what we're being left with is a concentrated, nice, thick tomato pulp. I might need to stick blend it, or I might just stir it and soften it more. I'll see how it goes. But this is a very simple, really nice and fresh pizza base. So I'll come back in a couple of minutes, we'll check those doughs, we'll separate them, and we can get closer to making our pizzas. Okay, so it's been about 45 minutes now, and our pizza dough is really nicely proven. So I'm just going to take this out now, and you can see how active this is. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this flour mix that we made before, sprinkle that out onto the bench. and I'm just going to pour this out. Now I've got my dough scraper over here. I'll just grab this. Now all I'm going to do is cut this directly in half. So we don't need to weigh it or anything. As I said before, you can make 3 smaller pizzas or even smaller once again. Now I'm just going to fold in these edges. So I'll do that on both of them so you can see. Fold them in. And this is one of those things we do to make sure we get a really nice round pizza. Pop it so the seam side is down, and then using 2 hands, make sure your fingers stay in touch with the bench so they create nice tension. Roll this so you get a really nice tight ball, and you want to feel a bit of tension forming on top. So we've got one like so. I'll do the same here. So there we go, we've got 2 really nice balls of pizza dough. I've prepared here a steam tray with some of that flour mix also. Now you can use a container or a baking tray, anything like that. There's a fair bit of flour there, simply sit that there so it doesn't stick. Push it down ever so slightly, and I'll do the same here. I'm going to sprinkle just a touch more over the top. And I've got another steam tray. I'm going to close it like so. I'm going to let these rest for about 15 to 20 minutes or so. They will start to prove a bit more, but this will make it a lot easier for us to shape it and get a really, really nice round pizza. So I'll let these sit. I'll come back shortly and we can get going. Then we can top the pizzas into a nice hot oven and away we go. Okay, so the pizza bases are literally a minute or 2 away. Before I hop onto those, I just want to finish off this sauce. So this is the strained off tomato. This is all of that tomato water. So there's now almost 400 grams of this. I might add a bit more to this, we'll just see how we go. But I've popped this into a jug. I'm going to add some sugar, probably a tablespoon or so, about a teaspoon of salt. I've got a few basil leaves in there as well. And I'm just going to stick blend this. I might add a bit of olive oil just to see how it's going texture-wise. But I'll just give this a quick blitz. Yeah, so I'm going to add a bit of oil just to loosen this up ever so slightly. Maybe 2 tablespoons or so. Give this another blitz. Okay, perfect. So we've got a really nice thick sauce now. I'll grab a spoon just to show you. So it's got a lot of texture. This will go softer in the oven. More water will come out of it. So for me, that's great. You saw there's no cooking involved. You should have a tin of tomatoes in your pantry. Most of us do. So this is a very easy one. So that's done. I'll just clear this stuff. I'm going to sprinkle some flour out now. Some of our flour mix that we made just before. And we can shape our first pizza base. So, when we are doing this, place it down, flour your hands, only use your knuckles. Don't use your fingers yet. So you can see we've punched out a nice round shape. Continue to do this, and it is very tempting to use your fingers, but just use your knuckles. Push it out as you go. Pick it up now and just basically let this rest on your knuckles. Keep turning it around. This will get rounder and rounder as you go. Just put it back down on the bench to make sure that you're on the right track. And also make sure that the edges are becoming not too thick or the center isn't becoming too thin. You can start to use your fingers once you're confident that it's taking the shape that you want it to. I'll just get this back onto my hands. I'm just flapping it around, as you can see. You shouldn't need a rolling pin. And all of this is because we allowed the dough to rest and we shaped it nicely before. So shaping it nice and tight into those rolls is a really, really good idea. and you can go even thinner with this. It's quite flexible. You can start to pull on that crust as well. Now, if you want to get a rolling pin, you can, but a good challenge is try not to and see how round you can get this pizza, because I honestly think you'll get it more round without a rolling pin. Alrighty. So, for me, that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So, I'm going to get some of this sauce, use the back of the spoon, and evenly lay this out. You can go as much or as little sauce as you like. So pop that on like so. Try and get it as even as possible. It is a little bit tricky to get it perfect, but do your best. Leave a little bit on the crust, obviously. My cheese mixture. So in here I've got the cheddar and the mozzarella. So I'm going to sprinkle that nice and evenly as well onto this pizza. And you can go as much or as little cheese as you want. There's few things better than melted cheesy goodness, so I'm going to go all out right now. And I've got my salami or my pepperoni slices, so I'll just lay those out. And I've cut these nice and thick as well, so you can really, it's really up to you with how you do this. So lay those out like so. I'm just going to go a little bit more cheese in and around where that is. Quick dry off the hands. Light olive oil. You don't need too much of this. And now, if you actually leave this on the bench to prove a bit more, the crusts will prove because there's no food on them. You'll get a lighter crust. For me, I'm pretty happy with a relatively thin crust. This still will puff up a little bit. So now, get a bit of flour on your paddle as well. And I'm actually going to slide this off the bench onto the paddle so we can keep it as round as possible. So you can see it should move pretty well. Now you can always use baking paper if you want to help you slide it. For me, let's bring it all in together. One quick slide, there we go. If you're like me and you've just made a mess, quickly rejig that around. In fact, I've made this thinner now, so let's go. More pepperoni, perfect. Alrighty, that's looking good. Our pizza stone now is really, really nicely preheated. So I'm going to whack this in. Depending how you roll your pizza will determine how long it takes to cook. So I'm guessing it's going to be around 5-6 minutes, but we'll just see how it goes. So I'll pop this in, I'll set the timer for 5 minutes and we'll go from there. Okay, so that one's in. Whilst that one's cooking, some more flour down, and let's get this second pizza on. So we can get a production line happening, smash it out, and let's see who's faster at making the pizza, the oven or you. Can you get a pizza done before the oven's finished? And then you can just continually roll them over, which is fantastic. Okay, so it's been about 7 minutes now, thereabouts, and it's looking really, really nice. I've made another one in the meantime, just simple margherita, tomato, mozzarella, some basil, bit of olive oil. So now I'll grab the paddle, take this one out, onto a board, let that settle down. I'll get this one in for another 6 or 7 minutes or so. We'll let this guy cool down for a few minutes or so before chucking into it, but it really is as easy as that. So I really hope you can all get the family involved, get the kids together, make some super, super tasty homemade pizzas. We would love to see your photos of everyone at home cooking these pizzas, so let us know if you do get around to it. If you want to follow this recipe, you can hop onto mieleexperience.com.au or mieleexperience.co.nz. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.